Let's start. As our subject is computer programming, and today our topic, today we will cover two topics that are programming paradigms, and the second one is programming language constructs. So, actually, what is programming language? Programming basically the language that is used for doing for writing program. Basically, as its name shows, basically programming language is the process of telling the computer what to do. Actually, computer is basically designed to solve our problem, but how it will solve this will be tell by something, and that something is basically a program or software, and that software will be written by using some programming language. Basically, the programming language is the process of telling the computer what to do, and this is also known as coding. And we want, let's suppose, if I'm using some software, if I'm using a calculator, then it means that there will be a coding that is done at back end that will perform calculations. So, learning outcome of today's lecture is it will understand the principle of computer programming. Basically, there are some of the computer programming languages that are available here. So, first one is machine language, assembly language that was basically used in designed and used in the era of 1956 to 63. Lisp that was used in 1956, Fortran in 1957, COBOL in 1959, PL1 1964, BASIC in 1964. Pascal basically was in 1970, Smalltalk in 1972, and C in 1972 again. So the other programming languages are ATA that was used and designed in 1983. Then there is the next version of C that is known as C++ that was from 1983 to 85. QBasic that was in the era of 1986, then Perl 1987, Visual Basic 1991, Power Builder Java in 1995, and JavaScript C Sharp basically in 2001. So let's start. Programming language basically a language used to write instructions for the computer. That is the way of representation any program in to that form which is understandable by CPU. Basically, there is a need of programming language because computer can't understand the human language. So there must be a language, there must be a bridge, there must be a intermediate thing that will act as a translator between the human and the computer. As a human, we can't understand the language of the computer. So as a computer, as a machine can't understand the human language. So there must be something that will translate the language, human language into the machine language. And obviously there must be some bridge or some translator that will translate the computer language into the human understandable language. So, programming language is basically in which the programs are written by using any language. As I have shown you some of the programming languages that were used in the uh, different era. So, these are the languages that were used to write the program. And these languages set the procedures and rules to write computer programs. Basically, programmers have to follow that rules. Programmers have to follow that rules which is set by programming language. They must be followed, otherwise the error will be occurred. So that will be difficult for us, and our task will not get be executed because we have don't follow the rules of that specific language. Type of the language, basically there are two type of the languages that are low level language and high level language. Basically, low level language is the language that is near to the machine. Okay, that is understandable by the machine, and machine, what the machine is here, the machine is the computer. Low level language is also called machine language. That type of the language are close to the machine. As I've told you that this language is close to the machine and easily understand by the machine, as it is majorly in the form of 0 and 1. As basically computer is an electronic device, And and electronic device basically again work on the phenomena of voltage, and voltage basically the button the button from our socket will be on or off. Same goes for the computer language, as it's understand only the binary form, that is 0 and 1. As we have to execute different things, though all the things will be done by the combination of the 0 and 1. Low level languages types are machine language and assembly language. Basically, the next one is high level language. This is basically understandable by the human, near to the human understanding. High level programming language is the language program that use languages or syntax which close to the human language. So it is easy to understanding the language. We will write code in high level language, and this high level language is converted into the low level language or machine level language. This type of the language is machine independent. Okay, if I have written my code, uh, if I've written my code in my laptop, then that code, if I have given you that, if I'll give you that code, then that code will also executable on your system. Okay. In this context, we will say that the language, this type of the code is machine independent. That it means it can be run on any type of the machine. Okay. And use similar language as English, which is easily understandable by the human. I will show you that some piece of the code, and you will see that this type of the coding is near to human understand, and this language also contains some of the words of English language. High types of the high level language are basically procedural language, functional and non procedural language, and object oriented language. Okay, some of the procedure language are okay. Let me check with this. What does basically actually procedure language mean? A procedure language is a type of the computer programming language that specifies a series of well-structured steps and procedure within its programming context to compose a program. It means that there will be a structured steps or procedures that we must have to follow that for for our execution of the program. It contains a systematic order of statements, functions, and commands to complete a computational task or a program. Other, if we don't follow that procedure or steps, then our program will not get executed. Okay, this you will see one by one what are these things, functions and commands. As this program contains the statements, order of statements, function, and commands to complete a computational task. Again, procedural language is also known as imperative language. This is the other name of the procedural language. Okay, some of the procedural programming language are, as I have shown you in the start, the some of the languages. So from that slides, these are the procedure programming language. Fortran, basically, which whose full form is formula translation, is also a procedure language. Basic was also in that in the start of the slide. Basic, basically beginner all purpose symbolic instruction code, is the full form of the basic. COBOL, common business oriented language. This is also a procedure language. All of these three languages are from are on the are given in the start of the slide, in which we have seen the different types of the programming languages. Basically, these type of the languages are third generation languages, and the other one is non-procedural language. Basically, non-procedural language in the computer system is not limited to a set of precise instruction, whereas in the procedural language there is a set of precise structure that we have to follow. Instead, the programmer defines only the problem in each not the instructions to solve the problem. In this, user just define the problem, not the instruction that how this problem will be solved. Basically, the main reason for using the programming language is we just want to solve our problem. Okay, for that purpose we design the software. For designing the software, there must be a programming language. So non-procedural language programming languages are SQL, structured query language. Basically, this is used on the database. This is used on the database to query some to execute a query. Again, Lisp is the list processing, Prolog programming with logic. These three languages are the non-procedural languages. Okay, the third one was object-oriented languages. Basically, programming languages specifically designed to make it easy to implement object-oriented designs. It is easy as compared to the previous one because in it objects are made. Now, in object-oriented language, the code used to write the program With the help of the code, we will write the program, and that data processed by the program are grouped together into the units called object. This is the new thing that introduced here. This was not used in the previous type of the languages. The code used to write the program and the data processed by the program are grouped together. Data which is going to be processed by the program are grouped together into the units called objects. Objects are further grouped into the classes. First, we have the objects, and then objects are grouped into the classes which define the attributes object must have. So, example are of object-oriented languages are Smalltalk, C++, and Java. Next, we have as I've told you that there are two types of the language that are high level language and low level language. As low level language is near to the machine and that is understandable by the machine, high level language is near to the human and that is understandable by the human. Then there must be something, some person or some translator that lies between these two languages, low level language and high level language. For this purpose, there is a language translator. A translator is a computer program that translates a program in written in the given programming language into a functionally equivalent program in a different computer language without losing the functional or logical structure of the original code. Basically, if we talk about the functionality of the language translator in the um, easy term, then it means there is the something that lies between the low level language and the high level language who converts the code from low level language into the high level language and vice versa. So and this conversion will be done in such a way that their functionality will not get lost, will not get disturbed. Basically, a translator is a computer program that translate a program written in the given programming language into a functionally equivalent program in a different computer language. Again, this is the programming language we are talking about is the high level language and the low level language without losing the functional or logical structure of the original code. So the conversion will be done in such a way that their functionality will not get disturbed. And type of the language translator are compiler, interpreter, and assembler. Again, compiler is a computer program that transform the human readable complete code of another computer program into the machine readable code that a CPU can execute. So a compiler is basically a computer program that transform human readable complete code of another computer program into the machine readable code that a CPU can execute. Then it means as a whole program is given whole program is given to the compiler and that will translate into the low level language, so the CPU can execute that task. Because if we write a program in the high level language of, let's suppose you have written a code of the one page, then that code will be converted by the compiler into the low level language at once. I will give the whole code at once and that will be converted into the low level language. There is another translator, that is an interpreter. An interpreter, basically a compiler gives the whole code at once, but the interpreter give one statement at a time of the code. An interpreter is a computer program that reads the source code of another computer program and execute that program. Basically, interpreter is a computer program. Again, there is a new term that is a source code and object code. Source code basically is again the language, the code that is written in the high level language, and object code is the program that is in the low level language. Basically, interpreter is a computer program that needs the source code of another computer program and execute the program, because it is interpreted line by line. As I've told you that it will take one statement at a time and that will be translated into the low level language. High level language code is also called source code and low level language is also called the object code. So because it is interpreted line by line or statement by statement, it is much slower way of running program than one that has seen compiled, but it is easier for learner because the program can be stopped, modified, and rerun without time consuming compiles. As it will be slow as compared to the previous one, because because we have given the whole code to the compiler for compilation, so it will be slow in this perspective for the running of the program. But it will be easier because we will give one statement at a time. So if there will be any error occur in that line, that error will be identified easily and then can be modified and rerun without time consuming compiles. And the next third one is assembler. Assembler converts code written in assembly language into the machine language. It works same like interpreter and compiler. The assembler program takes each statement in the code and generate corresponding bit stream or pattern, a series of zeros and one of a given length. Basically, it works on the mnemonics language, English like language. Both interpreter and compilers are available for most high-level language. However, Basic and Lisp are especially designed to execute by an interpreter. Again, Fortran is particularly good language for processing numerical data. This is basically given some description of the language why these languages will be used. Fortran basically, as its name shows, that I've shown you in full form of the Fortran. Basically, this will you that full form has the term formula, so its name shows formula, then it means something is linked to the mathematics, numerics. So Fortran is particularly good language for processing numerical data, but it does not lend itself very well to large business program. Pascal is very good for writing well structured and readable program, but it is not flexible as the C programming language. C++ embodies powerful object oriented feature, but it is complex and difficult to learn. Testing and debugging. Again, testing and debugging is a feature, as we have read in the SDLC cycle, system development life cycle. Sorry, software development life cycles. Testing and debugging basically is the thing after coding. Then our code will get tested. If there is any error, then that will be removed. That concept is known as debugging. So testing is the basically task performed to determine the existence of defects. We will test that whether if an error occur in the code, then we will determine that its existence. So debugging the task performed to detect the exact location of the defects, where our error is allocated, where our error, in which line our error lies. So that is known as debugging. Defects are also known as also called bugs or errors. So in computer language, defects are called bugs or errors. Let us now look at one of their classifications. Again, there are different type of the errors, that are syntax error, semantic error, and runtime error. As its name shows, syntax error, that is related to the syntax. So they are caused by the code that somehow violates the rule of the language. As I've told you that there must be the uh, s- mm, proper way that will be followed, so that there are rules for the specific language that must be followed. So that rule, if someone violated the rule, then our code will not get executed. Easy to detect and fix errors. The browser stop code interpretation on detecting one of these. For example, A is equal to B plus asterisk C. Receiver is equal to receiver plus 2. Syntax error. So again, this is the syntax error, as there is no, you will, I guess, you don't have the knowledge of programming in detail. So there is a syntax error in this line, that terminator is not used. Terminator means semicolon is not used at the end of the statement. Again, the next one is semantic error. Semantic error means someone linked to the semantics. So occur when a statement execute and has an effect not intended by the programmer. Hard to detect during normal testing. Oftentimes occur only in unusual and infrequent circumstances. The plus operator often result in unintended consequences. So remedy for this is convert before use. Then last one is runtime error, the error that occur at the time of the execution of the program, occur when the program is running and try to do something that is against the rules. So if it tries to something that is not in the rules, so this error occur at that time. For example, accessing non-existing variable. As in the programming language, we have to declare what variables that we will be used. So if we, at the end of the program, the coder want to tries to do something, tries to access the variable that is already not declared, and then there will be error, runtime error. So accessing a non-existent variable, property, method, object, etc. For example, a method name is misspelled, or some the other reason is if I have used the word variable. Let's suppose I have used the variable add. So at the end of the execution, by if I want to print and I'll use that variable sum. Then although both have the same meaning, but this will be the runtime error, as I'm trying to access the non-existence variable in that specific program. Source of these can be determined by careful reading of the code, but unfortunately not always. Again, this is basically the simple C program. We will basically start our program by using the number sign, hash sign. This include is a keyword. It will be written as it is. Then we have angle brackets, and then we have stdio.h. Basically, this is the header file. Um, in coding in compiler, there will be the libraries. There are the libraries available, as we cannot to include the well, we will not write the whole library here in our code, so we'll just call by using the header file. So this of the library is used for input or output file, and then this is the int main. Again, this is the syntax, int main, and then parentheses, and we have the brackets. In this, printf. Again, if we want to print something, we will use the printf. Again, we have the parentheses, and in this parenthesis, we will write what we want to show on the screen. Welcome to CS1621, and again, exclamation mark and backslash n is the escape sequence that will be used to execute the next. That will be used to execute the line in execute the next statement in the next line. So the output of this program will be welcome to CS1621 exclamation mark. And this is basically the simple C program, how it looks like. Again, yeah, the first line is known as preprocessor directives. This is the in-text, again, global declaration, as I've told you that the variable, if I'm going to use the variable, then I'll first have to declare it. This is basically the global declaration. Then again, int main is the main function. Int y is the local declaration. Local declaration means it is declared inside the function. Again, printf enter x and y. Terminator, basically this is again the syntax, and then we have scanf, parentheses, and x, ampersand, and symbol with variable x, and symbol with variable y. Basically this will get the value from the user. Firstly, the first line will be displayed. Compiler will display the first line as the output, then the next line will get the value from the user. Printf sum is again percentage d format specifier. Percentage d is the format specifier, and backslash n is the escape sequence that will execute that next statement in the next line. X plus y, basically first line will be shown as it is. Printf, if we have used the printf statement, then this will print the line as it is on the screen. The scanf basically will get input from the user, and printf again sum is, and the sum of these two number will be shown on the screen. As I have told you that our program will be start from the number symbol. So begin with the number symbol. Instruct compiler to perform some transformation to file before compiling. For example, hash include stdio.h. Add the header file stdio.h to this file. For compilation, for executing, we will need some of the functions, and that function reside in the libraries. So we will not write the whole library here. We will just add the specific library by using its header file. A .h for the header file. Stdio h defines useful input or output functions. Basically, this library include the function that will be used for the input or output. Functions consist of header and body. As I've shown you that this is basically int main is the function, and this is the header. Again, the top of the main is the header, and inside the function is the body of the program. The whole is as you can see that this whole that is highlighted is the function. The start from the int main to the end of the braces is called the function. Consist of header and body. Header basically int main, body contained between parentheses. Start with the location declaration followed by series of the statements. More than one function may be defined as complexity level. When the complexity will be increased, then multiple functions can be used in the code. So functions are called or invoked more later. First, we have to define the function, then we will call it when we need them. Main function, basically every program has one function main. This is obvious that each program must have the one function, that is the main function. Header for main, int main is basically, you have seen that this function in the previous slides. Program is just basically sequence of statements between the parentheses following main state. You can say that main functionality, what we actually want to do, that will be written between these parent braces. Again, statement are executed one at a time from the one immediately following to main to the one before the parenthesis, sorry, braces. Again, if we want to add some comment in our code for our understanding, for the remembering perspective, for we want to remember the what actually this line is doing, then we can comment, we can also mention the comment. Then how we'll mention the comment, basically there are different ways from in which we can represent them. Basically text between slash static and static slash, all the thing that is written between these two slash, then all they will be considered as a command used to document the code for the human reader. So if I have written the code and I mentioned the command, then I'll give the my code to you people. Then this, if you will open the code, then comment section will help you to understand what actually this line is going to do. Ignored by the compiler, as compiler will not compile them, will not translate them as the compiler will, as the compiler does for other instructions. So it will be ignored by the compiler. It's just for human reader, for him remembering or for understanding. Have to be careful because comment may cover multiple lines, as there are multiple line can be reside between them. So we have to be very careful by using this command. And as soon as this static and slash encountered, so no internal command. As you can see, that's slash static and slash, and then again static internal static again. This is basically the syntax in which you can write your comment in the code. Again, this is the C program in which we have written some code, some comments. Again, the start of the program is from the preprocessor directives. And the preprocessor directive include the symbol this number symbol, again include and stdio.h header file for the stdio.library. This again, all of these lines are comments. This comment covers multiple lines in the program. Start, I have told you that if we have to start comment for multiple lines, then we have to use the slash and static, and again static at the end of the command. Then we have, if we have start the section command, then we must have to end it. So for multiple lines, so static and backslash. Int main, again this is the main header. This can be as you can see that can be mentioned here as this. Again our brackets, no local declaration means, again this is again another command. And printf, too many comments, and backslash, and this program will basically just print one line, that is too many comments. And again this will show that this is the end of the main function. Syntax of C, basically as you have seen, a simple program. So rules that define the C language. Rules that define the C language, specifically which tokens are valid. As we have to follow the rules, then there must be that must be followed. So otherwise our program will not get executed. Specify which tokens are valid, but we have to specify them which are valid and which are not. Also indicate the expected order of tokens. Some type of tokens are reserved words. As in the programming language, these are the reserved words that cannot be used as a variable declaration. For example, as you have seen in the previous 2-3 examples of the code, that include printf is basically the reserved word that cannot be you int is the keyword that cannot be used for the other purpose. For example, if I have to declare variable, then I can't declare a variable by using the variable include, by using printf, or by using int. So there are different identifiers available, x and y, have you have seen in the previous slide in which we have written a code to sum of two variables. Literal constant, again there is a Next example available, you will see that again constant is very values that will not get changed during the execution of the program, but somehow at the some other portion of the function that value can be replaced. Again, there is a punctuation. You have seen the curly braces are used, this colon is semicolon is used. This is again used, will be used at the end of each and every statement approximately, except the main function and except the header files, sorry, preprocessor directives. So angle brackets are used, number symbol is used, and this is used for the comment section. Okay, let's start what actually variable is. Basically, variable, if we have to use, okay, let me show you. This y is a variable. Again, this y is a variable, this x is a this x is a variable, and variable y. Basically, here declaration is done. Variable declaration. This is known as variable declaration. It means a variable x. X is basically random, you can say alphabet that can be written here. X is basically a variable that is of integer size, and integer is a data type. Basically, data type of this variable. So data type will show you how much byte, how much you can say memory it will take, how much cells it will take in your memory. Again, y is a variable of integer data type. Integer data type will show you how many memory it will contain for storing the variable value. Variable basically is the sorry, variable is basically named memory location. So is variable declared in global or local declaration section. As you have seen in the previous example, x is declared globally and y is declared locally. Globally mean outside the main function and locally mean inside the main function. Syntax basically type and name. Example are int sum. Basically, sum is the variable. Again, sum is the random variable. You can write here any other variable as well. Sum is basically a variable or of integer data type. Again, this variable will store the value of integer data type. The next is float. Average. Again, float is the data type. Float average will, this variable average will store the float values. Again, float values are the values that are in points. And then the next one is char dummy. Dummy is again the variable that this will store the variable. This will store the values of character. All this is basically, these three are the examples of variable declaration. Again, at each end of the variable declaration, there must be a semicolon. Variable type indicate how much memory. As I've told you that the data type of the variable will show you how much memory it will take, the variable. So indicates how much memory to set aside for the variable. Also determine the how space will be interpreted. Basic type are char, that is basically used for the character variables. Int is basically for integer, and float is for basically float data type. Specify amount of the space bytes to set aside, how much bytes will take. Although there are different type of data, there are different type of data types are available, and each data type contain different size in the memory. What can be stored in that space, what operation can be performed on those variables. Again, this variable name, legal identifier, not a reserved word. As I've told you that there are different reserved words available, just like the include, printf, and like the stdio, scanf, main. These variables can int, float, char. These variables, these are the reserved word that cannot be used as the variables. Must be unique. For example, if have for example, in the previous example code that you have seen, in which two variables are used, x and y. So